Good afternoon. And the next is Snell's law. So, what is Snell's law? So, the index of refraction, that is Ni, of the incident medium times the sine of the angle of the incidence equals the index of refraction Nr from the refracted medium times the sine of the angle of refraction. So Ni sine theta I is equal to Nr sine theta R, and this is the easy to use. So we can either finding an angle or an index of refraction. So, a Dutch astronomer and a mathematician identified the exact relationship between the angle of incidence and the angle of refraction, and this Dutch astronomer is Wilbrod Snell. So, here Snell's law is given. So, by the experiment, Snell discovered that a ray of light bent in a predictable manner when incident at an angle on transparent medium, and the amount of bending is proportional to the angle of incidence and the optical density, that is index of refraction of the material, and the angle of incidence and refraction are measured relative to the line normal to the surface of the material. So what does actually penetration, what does actually the refraction look like? So how does it work? N1 sine theta 1 is equal to N2 sine theta 2. So what is N1? N1 is the index of refraction incident ray. N2 is index of refraction reflected ray. Theta 1 is angle of incidence and theta 2 is angle of refraction. So why does the refraction work? So refraction occurs because the speed of the wave changes. Why refraction occurs? Because the speed of the wave changes, and the Huygens principle states that every point on a wave front acts as a point source. Since different parts of the wave front reach the refractive material at the different times, the wave changes the direction. So index of refraction is the change in the direction is the result of change in speed, and the change in speed is a result of optical density of the material. That is, the index of refraction is calculated by dividing the speed of light in a vacuum by the speed in material. So when light passes from air into water at an angle of 60 degree, then from the normal, then what is the angle of refraction? Here is one example. So index of refraction N1 is 1, index of refraction N2 is 1.33, angle of incidence is theta 60 degree, theta 1 is 60 degree. Now we have equation that N1 sin theta 1, N2 is equal to N2 sin theta 2, so we can find sin theta 2, that is theta value in degrees. So There is one note that the index of refraction always greater than or equal to 1. Index of refraction is always greater than or equal to 1. So here one more example is given. In an experiment, a block of cubic is placed in a water and laser beam is passed away from the water through the cubic zirconia. The angle of incidence is given, angle of refraction is also given. Then what is the index of refraction? So index of refraction water is given, theta 1 theta 2 given, and we have to find the n2, that is the index of refraction. Then the total internal reflection, if the critical angle is exceeded, then none of the light exits the material. If the critical angle is exceeded, then none of the light exits the material and the entire ray is reflected off. The entire ray is reflected off the boundary, and this is how fiber optic works. So next point is before going to the comparison, there is one more point, that is reflection by a perfect dielectric normal incidence. So consider the boundary between two dielectric media at x equal to 0. Then if the wave is incident on the boundary between the two dielectric media, then part of the wave will be reflected back and remaining part of the incident wave will be transmitted in other dielectric. So if EI, here EI, ER and ET, it denote the component of incident, reflected and transmitted electric field. The intrinsic impedance is the ratio of electric field and to the magnetic field. So it is E by H, and incident and reflected wave are medium 1 and transmitted wave is in medium 2. So for incident wave, for reflected wave, the phase is reversed. According to the boundary condition, the components of the wave in one medium should be equal to the components in other medium. So here is one more example where index of reflection is calculated. Then the next is comparison of the circuit theory at low frequency and field theory at high frequency. So what is circuit theory? As the name suggests that the circuit theory deals with the electrical circuit. The circuit theory deals with electrical circuit, and an engineer can predict the performance of the complicated electrical network with the help of circuit theory. But this theory has a certain limitations, like it cannot be applied in a free space, it is useful only at low frequencies, and this theory is unsuccessful in explaining the radiation of electromagnetic wave into a space in radio communication. So it cannot be used to analyze or design a complete communication system. For example, radio communication system. And what is electromagnetic field theory? Although the electromagnetic field theory, that is EMFT, is complex in comparison with the circuit theory, but EMFT is simplified by using appropriate mathematics. This theory deals with E and H vectors, whereas the circuit theory deals with the voltage and current. And this theory has the advantages in comparison to circuit theory. So the first advantage is it is also applicable in free space. It is useful at all the frequencies, particularly at high frequency. The radiation effect can be considered, and this theory can be used to analyze or design a complete communication system, for example wireless communication and radio. communication. Then the next is antenna radiation mechanism. So next is antenna radiation mechanism. Ideally, all incident energy must be reflected back when open circuit, but practically a small portion of electromagnetic energy escapes from the system, which that it gets radiated. So, what is antenna radiation mechanism? Ideally, all incident energy must be reflected back when open circuit, but practically a small portion of the electromagnetic energy escapes from the system. That is, it gets radiated, and it occurs because the line of force don't undergo a complete phase reversal, and some of them escapes. Then the amount of escaped energy is very small due to the mismatch between the transmission line and surrounding space. Also, because the two wires are too close to each other, radiating from one tip will cancel radiation from other tip, as they are opposite polarities and the distance between them is too small as compared to the wavelength. So, to increase the amount of radiated power, the open circuit must be enlarged by spreading the two wires. So, due to this arrangement, the coupling between the transmission line and free space is improved. Also, the amount of cancellation is reduced and the radiation efficiency will increase further if two conductors of transmission line are bent so as to bring them in the same line. Then the types of antenna. So according to their application and technology available, antennas generally fall into one of the two categories. One is omnidirectional and second is directional or beam antennas. So omnidirectional or only weakly directional antennas which receive or radiate more or less. So these are employed when the relative position of other stations is unknown or arbitrary. They are also used at lower frequencies where a directional antenna would be too large, or simply to cut the cost in application where a directional antenna isn't required. Then directional or beam antennas, which are intended to preferentially radiate or receive in a particular direction or a directional pattern. Then according to the length of transmission line available, the antenna generally fall in one of the two categories, that is resonant and non-resonant. So what is resonant antenna? It is a transmission line the length of which is exactly equal to multiples of half wavelength and it is open at the both end. The non-resonant antenna, the length of this antenna is not equal to exact multiples of the half wavelength, and in these antenna standing wave are not present, and as antenna are terminated in correct impedance which avoid the reflections. So the wave travel only in forward direction, and the non-resonant antenna is unidirectional antenna. Then radiation pattern. This diagram shows the radiation pattern. Then the radiation pattern of an antenna is a plot of relative field strength of the radio wave emitted by the antenna at different angle, and it is typically represented by three dimensional It is typically represented by three-dimensional graph or the polar plots of the horizontal and vertical cross section, and it is a plot of field strength in volt per meter versus the angle in degree. So the pattern of an ideal isotropic antenna which radiate equally in all direction, it would like a sphere. Many non-directional antennas such as dipole emit the equal power in all horizontal directions, with the power dropping off at higher and lower angle, and this is called as omnidirectional pattern. So the radiation of many antennas show a pattern of maxima or the loops at various angles separated by the nulls, and this is because the radio wave emitted by different parts of the antenna typically interfere, causing a maximum at the angles where the radio waves arrive at the distant points in phase. So in directional antenna designed to project a radio wave in a particular direction, the lobe in that direction is designed larger than the others and it's called main lobe. So the other lobes usually represent the unwanted radiation and are called side lobes. The axis through the main lobe is called principal axis or the both side axis. So this is all about the radiation pattern. In this diagram, the main lobe is shown and the opposite side lobes are also shown.